Guys, welcome back to another episode of the Conquerors Crew. And I have an awesome guest for you guys today. This guy is trained up, been doing coaching since before coaching was coaching and even was called coaching. And so I'm really excited to ask him about how all that transpired and what he thinks about all that. But before we do that, guys, I always have to lay out our pillars, and a few of you guys need reminders of what they are, and then the other ones, well, welcome, and I get to tell you about what they are. So it just takes a minute or two to kind of do that. And the first one is hope. And for us at Conquerors Crew, hope means helping other people excel. And it's just kind of one of those funny things, I think, in those universal laws of when you don't have any hope and you can just find and muster up a little bit to maybe give to somebody or just help the old lady across the road kind of thing, or put her groceries in the car, it just seems like it comes back a little bit faster to you. So that's what we like about hope. And the reason we do the show on Wednesday is because it's kind of the humpity hump day check. How's your week going? Do you need a little hope, or do you have a little extra? Can you give somebody some that's maybe having a little bit of a rough week? So that's hope for us. And then the next one is grit. Okay. And grit, it's an acrostic, and the first one is G, and the G is grace. And for us, grace is not about the grace, okay, about you giving somebody else some grace and forgiveness. I'm talking about the grace that you give yourself, and quit being so hard on yourself. I think that's kind of the reminder that I like to give people about grace is, I had a mentor back when I lived in New Zealand, and one of the things he said to me is, Trey, you know what? You're nice to everybody, but why aren't you nice to yourself? Be kind to yourself, man. And that's always stuck with me since he said that. And so that's what I like about grace. And then R is for resilience. And a lot of people say, oh, man, well, you had cancer 3 times. I could never do what you did. And whatever. You know what? Us human beings, we're amazing. We rise to the occasion. And resilience, we've all got some of the characteristics, and we've all got to develop some of it. And the first time you do a race, you don't run an Ironman, right? So it takes a little bit of training, and it takes a little bit of practice. And so that's what I think how resilience is. So, and the I is for integrity. And integrity for us is not like, hey, you're breaking the rules over there. It's the integrity with, like, it's 3:00 in the morning. You're up worried about something that's on your mind. You look at yourself in the mirror, and are you being honest with yourself? Are you having integrity with yourself? So that's the little reminder for integrity. And then the T is teachable. And hey, I think we always have to remain teachable. And it seems like when you get a little cocky and you get, you think you know everything, well, you get knocked right off your high horse. So, and then the last one speaks for itself. It's no grit. So hope, grit, and no quit. Those are 3 pillars of the Conquerors Crew. Welcome, Mr. Keith Greer. How are you today? Tell us how your week's going. How you doing, sir?
Trent, I am doing well, and thank you for inviting me in. I'm so excited to be here and be in this conversation with you. Man, we could speak for an hour on each of those pillars.
No doubt.
Every single one resonated deeply with me. I can think of a variety of ways they have all played out in my life, helped my life. Doing well. I'm one of those blessed papas that gets to spend every single day with 3 grandsons, 6, 4, and 2.
Oh, so, my God.
Like, it doesn't matter what else goes on in my life, right? I get to hang out with them. I'm the school bus driver for the 2 older ones to and from school. Wow. Life's good. I'm blessed.
Man, good. That just sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. So, what part of the country do you live in? Where are you originally from?
So I'm calling in today from Rochester, New York. For those who are familiar with New York State, Western New York.
Yes, sir.
About an hour east of Buffalo, an hour west of Syracuse. I know you were sharing. You have some connections to Syracuse, New York.
Yes, sir.
And grew up down in the New York City area, and came up here for school. Met my wife, who's from up here, and I have now been in Western New York since 1983. Long time.
Golly. So let me ask you, do you like the snow?
So let me tell you about Western New York. All right. So first of all, it is not the snow. This is just my take. It is not the snow. It is not the cold. Actually, given your connections to Syracuse, Syracuse gets more snow than we do.
Right.
It just has to do with where we sit on Lake Ontario.
Yeah.
The worst part of the winter, because we are on a Great Lake, is the lack of sunshine. We can go days. I have always promised myself, since it has been my choice to live in Western New York. Don't complain. But by the time we hit mid-April into May and winter isn't letting go, I get a little ornery. Like I'm ready for sunshine and warmth. And I think we might have turned the corner in the last couple of days. So that being said, Rochester is this amazing kind of small and medium-sized city, wonderful culture. It's been a great place to raise our family, have our community. So love it here.
Awesome. So, you met your wife in college, right? Yeah. So, wow. And you guys just kind of stayed in the area, and that's kind of
So we met in school, and she, right after undergrad, went right off. She went right off and got her graduate degree while I worked a little bit, got my career started in the field. So by the time we got married, quite honestly, she had the better gig, and so I moved up here. For a number of years after we got married, we would talk about eventually we'll get down to the New York City area, because that's where I grew up. All my family's down there. To this day, 40 plus years later, I say it is the best thing we never did.
Wow.
So I love to visit. In fact, I'm heading down there this weekend to see my 95-year-old mom.
Wow.
But as I said, Western New York it's just this cool place to be and to create your life, and things like cost of living, pace of life it's manageable. I mean, we were in our mid-20s, we owned our first house. If we lived down in the New York City area, that ain't happening. Right? It's just not happening.
Yeah.
So Carol and I have, we have 2 kids, we have the 3 grandkids, and
awesome,
wonderful community, and it's good. It's just
nice,
it's good.
Man. How far is the drive? I'm just curious from Rochester to New York City. About how far is that?
So if we left Rochester and drove down to Manhattan, you're probably talking about 6 hours. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Well, my dad and my dad's side of the family, they're from Syracuse, New York, and he's got 2 brothers and a sister, and he was the youngest when he graduated from high school. He followed his older brother to North Louisiana, where my great grandmother lived and my grandmother was from. And my grandparents met at Barksdale Air Force Base in Shreveport Bossier is how they met. And then my grandfather took my grandmother back up north to Syracuse for them to live in, right? And then, once he retired, they moved back. But once my dad graduated, he moved. He followed his brother to Louisiana Tech, and he never went back because he hated the snow, man.
Yeah. Well, Syracuse sits, as you know, Syracuse sits on the eastern end of Lake Ontario.
Yeah.
And the winds come across, and you get these lake snows, and Syracuse gets dumped on every winter. Yeah.
You would not believe, like, if we live in, kind of on the edge of the Ozark Mountains here. So we get 2 or 3 kind of snows a year, and it's really nice. We get all the seasons. My dad is ready, with the snow shovels, with 2 or 3 days beforehand, and you would not believe. I am talking. It looks like it has been professionally cleaned. I mean, it is like it's edged to like a perfect. It's unbelievable. And then and the neighbors, they're from down here, and I mean they. But he he knows. He's like, every few hours he's out there shoveling and doing the thing. And I'm blessed, unblessed, kind of. I don't really know. Since I had the hip cancer, and I'm handicapped from it, and
Yeah.
I'm on a cane to kind of help me walk around. I kind of don't have to do jobs like that anymore. Yeah, but golly, man, I'll tell you, gosh, yeah, and you know what, my folks, last week they passed. They were up in Pennsylvania. Met my brother and sister-in-law and did some vacation stuff and everything. And they drove over to Syracuse and drove by my dad's house. They took a picture of the house he grew up in, and
Cool.
ate at a hot dog place. I can't remember the name of it when he was a kid, and it was really kind of neat. So
Yeah.
I stayed here to take care of the dog. So
There you go.
I had to do that. I had to do my thing. So, anyways, well, man, super cool. So, you have been in coaching or the coaching kind of industry for a long time.
Yeah.
And so, God, tell us about kind of how it used to be back before, this buzzy executive coaching, and I'm a coach. And tell me how it used to be and what it used to be like. And, what us guys that think it's so easy now, how was it, back in the old days?
So if I go way back,
Yeah.
I've been in the helping professions for
Right.
over 4 decades.
Wow.
So I started in the more traditional counseling clinical world.
Right. Okay.
I was a clinical social worker. I had a family therapy practice. Loved it.
Wow.
Somewhere 15, 20 years ago is when I started reading about coaching.
Okay.
And what I loved about what moved me to getting trained as a family therapist is, so at the beginning, my career actually started in the world of addiction.
Okay.
And 40 plus years ago, the general thinking on how to work with people who were struggling with addiction was you kind of told them what to do. You were the expert as the counselor. They had to follow.
Yep.
And I remember, Trent, even then, in my early 20s, having some sense that this feels not right. Like, who am I to tell people what to do? I'm not, some sitting on a high mountain, I know it all. Family therapy, when I got exposed to family therapy, what I loved about it is there's a vibe in family therapy that you are not the expert on a family. You're the expert on facilitating family therapy. The family is the expert on themselves. And in fact, one of your pillars, hope, part of why it so resonates with me is I had a supervisor back then who I adored, who used to always say that the only goal of every family therapy session, one goal, and that is somewhere in that session, you have some interaction with the family that engenders hope.
Wow.
That's it. Because if you engender hope, they'll come back, right? They'll stay involved in the process. Right. So I loved it. But then I started reading about coaching, and coaching took that philosophy even a couple of steps further, of that, there's this saying that when a coach and their client walk in a room, the answer is already in the room, and guess who doesn't have it? The coach.
Right.
And clients have their own answers. People have their own answers, even at moments in their life where they think they don't. They doubt their decision or their intuition, right? And so I just love that. I love this thought that, I joke with people that most days I can barely keep, my what together. I see you.
Right. Yeah.
Never mind thinking I know what's best for anybody else. What I can do, just as in the family therapy days, is I can coach. I can ask good questions. I can listen really deeply. I can create trust and safety. I can help people raise awareness. I can ask people to be courageous and take a look at some parts of themselves that are maybe a little bit hard to take a look at. And trust that in that conversation, in that space that my client and I co-create, they will find the answer, whatever it is for them.
Yeah.
What has changed, I think, in the coaching world, I'm going to share, this is a bias. This is a bias, a bias, a bias.
Yeah.
So it does not mean it's the be all and end all. It's just a bias. I think in some ways, some things through my years in coaching have changed for the better, and maybe not so.
Okay.
So let's start with what's changed for the better. I think our understanding of coaching technique is much better. Our understanding of the change process for human beings, like all the different pieces that go into how people conceptualize change.
Yeah.
The role of ambivalence in the change process. So most people, when they're looking at change, their first reaction might be, I don't want to change. And then sometimes people will say, well, why are you being so resistant? Well, what we know is that's not resistance. That's ambivalence. Ambivalence, I'd ask your audience, think of the last time you had a big decision to make in your life. I want to, I don't want to, I want to, I don't want to, I want to, I don't want to. That's ambivalence. And so we can work with that, and we can honor that because it's a natural part of the change process.
Right.
One of the biggest positive changes in coaching is the use of neuroscience, is being able to take our understanding of the brain and bring that into a coaching session. It's a lot of what I do with this conversational intelligence. It's phenomenal. Here's a part of coaching that, and this is where this is, again, this would be my bias. People might disagree with me on this one.
Sure.
Coaching. So originally in my work, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. You cannot call yourself a licensed clinical social worker unless you have that license. And so in New York State, I'm an LCSW. People can't put that on a business card unless they have masters in social work, got their license.
Right.
Coach is not a protected term anywhere.
Right.
Anybody could get a business card made, my name, coach. And I see some of that, of people, because as you said, it's become kind of the in thing.
Yeah.
That people, oh, well, I'm a coach now. All of a sudden I'm a coach, and I've gotten no training in how to do it, in the art and science of it. And there is an art and science to it.
Absolutely.
It's interesting. The last thing I'll say on this, a few months ago, I was reading an article, and this was specifically about those that are out there as life coaches.
Right.
Because so many people are now putting themselves out there as a life coach with little to no training, not a lot of insight into the ethics of our field. And there is a very specific ethical canon that we need to follow. Mm-hmm. That life coaches are getting sued all over the place because in their work with clients, they're like what the article was talking about, like life coaches telling their clients, I think you should leave your husband. I think you should quit your job.
Right.
Telling people what to do. And then when that person does it and it blows up, that's a part of coaching that I don't know what the answer is. And even the profession of coaching would say they're not really sure what the answer is, because people have a right to do what they want to do.
Right.
What it means is, for anyone in your audience, if you're ever thinking about hiring a coach, do your due diligence.
Right.
Ask lots of questions. Be curious about background, certification. Do you have a certification from the International Coach Federation, one of the biggest professional coaching organizations?
Sure.
That's what people need to do. That's maybe the downside of where we've gotten to today.
Yep. I think I'm with you, because I think good coaches ask the right questions to bring the answer or the goal or the expectation or whatever the client is there for. And if the coach is giving just straight up advice, that's not a coach. No. That's not coaching. That's not coaching, right? Coaching to me is you help the client find the right answer, and then they go on the field and they call the play. They call the play, right? So that's kind of my measurement, if you will.
And that's it. So I have a client, a company client. They make very high-end optics. Department of Defense, NASA, brilliant engineers, scientists, technicians. Trent, I barely know enough math to balance my checkbook. right? Like that is not, there is a reason I did not go in that direction professionally.
Fair
Right?
enough.
When they hire me, they don't hire me because I have a background as an engineer. They hire me because I know how to coach, and I know how to coach around leadership. Now, here's what we sometimes differentiate. Like sometimes you can be in a conversation, what's the difference between a therapist and a coach? But another part of that is the difference between a coach and a consultant.
Right.
So if I want to walk in a room and give advice, I better say, well, I've got my consultant hat on, and you're hiring me to be a consultant.
Yeah.
If you're hiring me to be a coach, then as you just said, I'm going to ask good questions. I'm going to listen deeply.
Yeah.
I'm going to see the best in you, identify strength, and you're going to figure it out.
Yeah. And I find that the client has much more success when they believe that the answer came from them, right?
No question.
I mean, because who wants to be told what to do?
So I'll go one step further. I think about this every day because you're right on, right? There's a theory called the theory of psychological reactance. It's a well-researched theory, well-accepted theory in the psychology world. And the theory of psychological reactance says, I'm going to be a little inappropriate here. When the theory of psychological reactance, what it says is when someone is told what to do, unsolicited, even some would say, even if they ask you, tell me what to do, if you tell them what to do, there's an instantaneous reaction in the brain that is akin to the brain putting up the middle finger.
Right.
Right. And sometimes I think of it almost as like our inner adolescent, like I'm just going to push back. You're not going to tell me what to do.
Right.
And so again, here's where we can use neuroscience and our understanding of the brain. We might think we're doing this wonderful thing when we tell people what to do. I hear, but one, you could be wrong. And two, most people are going to push it away. And three, and you said it, again, in the world of how we understand how people create change, any decision to move their life in a different direction that comes from inside them, it's stickier. It's stickier.
That's it. That's it. And, you got to be good enough to where they think that they came up with the whole thing.
They did. They
right.
did.
And really they did. You just like, you can't, that's kind of the fun in it to me. It's like, I know the answer, but it's kind of like in court, right? In a way, like, you ask these questions to get the person to this certain place. And a lot of times, like in court, they're trying to lead you to this thing to just kind of trap you in this deal, right? But with coaching, I mean, you're trying to ask the right questions to lead them to this point, and they go,
insight.
Right.
Insight, right. Insight. I hadn't thought about that. Or here's the other thing I think we do as coaches, which I think sometimes people don't think about, that this is a piece of what we do, but this is such a significant part of how people come up with their answers. All right. So I think part of the human experience is all of us walk around with that pesky self-critic in our head, right? Like, who do you think you are if people only knew you? Don't step outside of your comfort zone. Like, it's there. We all have it in some version, right?
Yeah.
My experience in the helping world in general, coaching specifically, is for many people, that self-critic is a very loud voice. And it's the voice that gets in the way of taking risks, stretching out, trying something new. So one of the things that coaches need to be strength-based. We need to be people who help people identify their strengths. And my experience, Trent, with I don't know how many thousands of people I've worked with, is for most human beings, if you ask them what their strengths are, like, tell me 10 of your strengths, people flip out, they get all squirrely. I don't want to be boastful. I don't want to be full of myself.
Right.
But here's what I've come to believe. We have this one voice, our self-critic isn't going to lead us anywhere. And in fact, I would argue our self-critic lies to us when it tells us we're not good enough, things like that.
Sure.
We have another voice, and it's the voice of intuition. But intuition needs to be fed with strength-based language. So if I don't know what my strengths are, I can't dig into my intuition, and the only voice left is that self-critic. I had this experience. I'm sure I had it when my kids were little, but I revisited it with my grandsons. So I think of this with my first grandson, who's 6. His name is Remington. When Remington was little, it became very apparent very quickly that his view on the world is he was the best. He's the best. Papa, I'm the best. Right?
I love it.
And I remember, like, as I was experiencing this with him, thinking, where do we lose that? Like, where through childhood and adolescenthood into adulthood do we lose it, that we're so worried about being full of ourselves or boastful that we lose this sense of, like, I've got some really cool pieces to me. Yeah, I got some stuff I'm still working on. We lose it. And so the only thing left is that self-critic. So much of what I do is I'm a voice in the room with my clients that sees strength. Right. I see strength and I highlight it and I ask them to get curious about it. I'll give you you and your listeners a quick exercise if people want to try. And I will invite anyone who tries it to get in touch with me. We'll make sure people know how to get in touch with me.
Sure.
I have this exercise. I created it years ago. It's kind of goofy, but I keep doing it because it seems to be really hard for people to do. So what I often ask clients to do is to go home and create a list of strengths, talents, skills, positive attributes, positive characteristics. All right. Okay. But here's the kicker. You need to create a list with as many items on it, positive items on it, as you are old.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right. And that's often the reaction I get. That face you just gave me was, oh, yeah. Okay. Well, if I'm older than 5, this is kind of hard to do.
Yeah.
And so here are the rules to doing it.
Okay.
All right. The rules are, if you come up with something and you immediately hear that self-critic kick in and says, well, that's not you all the time, write it down. No rule says it has to be you 24/7. Okay. If you really struggle coming up with a list as long as you are old, phone a friend, phone multiple friends, ask people who love you what's wonderful about you, write it down. But here's the most important part of this exercise. As you're doing it, what I challenge my clients to do is listen for the voices in their head. Listen for the self-critic, because listen for the self-critic saying things like, you're too boastful. Who do you think you are? If people only knew you, don't let your light shine. Yeah. And then get curious about that. Just curious about, where did these negative voices in my head come from that prevent me from looking at my strengths? Because here's boastful. Boastful would be me taking my list of strengths and going up to you with yours and saying, Trent, mine are better than yours.
Right.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about knowing what the tools are in your toolbox. So I will say to your audience, I just a month ago turned 67. I have a list on my computer of 67 strengths, talents, and skills, positive attributes. Here's what I want people to hear of what I do with that list, because I have as loud a self-critic as any other human being.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
I don't think a month or two goes by that I don't pull that list up on my computer and just look at it, just to remind myself, especially, I don't know, on days that suck, when life is difficult, when you've got a challenge in front of you. What tools can I call upon that are in me that will work for me? Because if I don't know that, no one else does.
Right.
So I love that part of coaching. I see strength, I see capacity, and I'm going to help my clients hear that and figure out how to bring it to whatever they are working on.
I love it. I love it, because if you don't fill up that thought, that airspace, that time, that whatever, it's going to be with it's going to be the critic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens. It sure does. I love it. I kind of do that. The way that I kind of do that is more like with like affirmations, if you will.
Beautiful. Yes.
I am I am happy. I am wonderful. I am strong. I am,
that's it.
I'm
that's
magnet
it.
for good people, or whatever the list is. Yeah. So that's cool. I like it, man. Yeah. That's good. That's a see. This is what Conquerors Crew is about, right? Awesome. Like coming on and talking about a challenge or something and giving people something like by the end of the show, like I didn't waste my time. I got something to take, a tool,
Yeah.
a tip, a hack of something. And that's
Yeah.
cool. I appreciate
Yeah.
it already. I mean, yeah, we're kind of like halfway in. And so
Okay.
you've already done it. I mean, you've already, that's awesome. That's awesome. I appreciate it. Yeah, tell us more, man. Tell us more. Gosh, yeah, well, I don't like talk about.
Let's go in a little different direction than the
Yeah,
coaching.
yeah.
You know, I've shared with you as you and I were talking about me joining you tonight. Like you, cancer survivor. I say, and this is close to the truth. I woke up one day at age 40 with colon cancer. Right?
Man,
No
yeah,
family history, no nothing. Healthy, active. Had some intestinal issues enough that because 27 years ago you weren't getting colonoscopies at 40, right? You just
right.
weren't.
Yeah.
Enough that my doc was able to make a case for me having one.
Okay.
And so I go in for this colonoscopy. I remember, I'll never forget this, Trent. I will never forget this. I go to have the preliminary visit with the gastroenterologist who's going to do the procedure. And I have a first visit with his nurse practitioner. The nurse is looking at my history, my age, and all of this. And she says to me, Keith, listen, I can guarantee you it's not cancer. They were thinking maybe IBS or something like that. And I remember walking out and thinking, oh, good, because, that's the worry that they do the colonoscopy and sure enough, there it is. And so from when they found the tumor to going into the hospital and having surgery to a week after surgery, when the labs came back to tell me if it had spread or not, was about 2.5 weeks, 2.5 week time period.
Okay.
I'm 40, I'm married, I have 2 little kids.
Yeah.
And like, again, I think of your pillar of hope, right? Because I remember sitting there for 2.5 weeks thinking, am I going to be around? Am I going to get to see my kids grow up? Like what's ahead of me? And, in that moment, like, what can you grab onto other than hope? Like, I'm just going to hope, right?
Yeah.
I was incredibly lucky that I listened to my symptoms because they found it before it broke out of my colon. Wow, so I had surgery, but I did not need chemo or radiation. I was incredibly lucky. Because, you and I talked about a little bit before we came on. It's 27 years later. But I also think, I know for me, I think I have always been, and I think I have been this by nature, a pretty positive, upbeat, see the best in people kind of person.
I feel that.
Right? Always have.
I feel that. I feel that. Yeah. Yeah.
But I would say that moment in my life was a moment where I said, all right, dude, how do you take that even to the next level? Like, how do you be so thankful that, like, it happened, they caught it, you're good, you're watching, you get to watch your kids, stay married to Carol, be involved in my family, have this career that I've carved out. And to make sure that I don't to today, not let too much time go by where you just don't take a step back and what do I feel gratitude about? Like, just gratitude.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have gotten to the level I think I've gotten to if I had not had that experience.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Us human beings, we we're such unique creatures, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
We've never had life easier and more technology and things done for us, and life so easy. And you know what? We've never had more mental health issues in the history of the world.
Right.
And it's unbelievable. And God, I had my own. I lived overseas in New Zealand. I had my own business, it was really hard work. I owned a kettle corn manufacturing business, and it was just kind of a thing that just kind of it was a weekend deal with a buddy that I was down there doing IT work, and it was a weekend thing, and it turned into this thing, just kept getting bigger and bigger, and eventually it was just like the supermarkets wanted it, and the cinemas wanted it, and we had to learn how to do like like a potato chip bag, like what they want in the supermarket, and not this just rinky-dink plastic bag that you just tie with a little twisty tie and you give it it's like all that, and all these things going on, and then I start limping around the factory, in the spring of 2019, and I go to a couple GPs, and I go to an osteopath, and this and that, and New Zealand healthcare is not that good. Okay. It just isn't. It just isn't. It's socialized, which okay, whatever, but they're just behind. I mean, they're behind like 20 years on everything. And that was a good thing for me because they didn't have kettle corn. Okay. So, we got to take the rough with the smooth, the good with the bad. Right. And, really, man, it was tough, man. I mean, I worked, I was a workaholic. I just kind of had no choice. Small business, wearing all that.
Right. Wearing all the hats.
Sleeping at the factory, working 100-hour weeks. I mean, 7 years straight, my business ran every day for 7 years.
Wow.
Because we had weekend work, and then we had factory work. Right. And so, and I thought that was great for like the first year, because I'm like, oh man, I got 7 days a week to make money. I'll tell you what, man, after a year, my phone never quit ringing 24/7, and it's like, man, I'll tell you what, after the cancer thing, and they wanted to cut my leg off, and my dad, I mean, it was just a rough deal, man. And the ups and the downs and everything. And, I was on crutches for 5.5 years. Mm-hmm. And, I had a hemipelvectomy, which means basically they cut out all of the bone and the hip and everything in my pelvis from basically my spine all the way over. Ooh. Just nothing left. 3/4 of my butt muscle, part of my abs, part of the top of my leg. I mean, they cut the leg off 99% of the time. My dad just, I had a meltdown when they told me they were going to do that. So they made me wait 6 months to do. We're going to do an implant. We're going to do an implant. I won't fit. And then finally they're like, well, we're just going to cut it off. And thank God my dad got involved. And it was infected. After the first surgery, it was infected, and the doctor was angry because he wanted to cut it off, and the quality of life, and it was just this floppy thing. I mean, it didn't work, man. It was terrible. And I hung on, and then I got cancer in my lung the next year, and they cut that out. And then the next year, I got it in the pancreas, and they all just kind of were like, well, this is it for you, man. You're done, and during COVID and all that. And I had about 9 surgeons in about 3 weeks just go, you've got pancreas cancer, you're going to die. And you just come to grips with it and go home and be with your family and spend the last year of your life with your parents because they love you, and don't stay here because this business. And man, I get a long story short, I guess kind of what I'm saying is, I came back and I had a tumor the size of a softball on my pancreas. We zapped it, we got it. Then I had this chronic infection in my hip that they told me I'd never get rid of. At some point I'd get sepsis and I could just die in my sleep, right? Well, I found a doctor here in Arkansas, and he's just like this tough little guy, just, Popeye. And he's like, we're just going to get this thing. And I'm going to, I'll go to bat for you. And because here's the thing. Nobody would operate on a hip that had been infected. Right. Because 80% of the time you open it up, it's going to get infected again, even if it says it's not infected. Nobody wants that on their record. I get it. Right. So we do this crazy, IV pick line stuff. I was sick like I had chemo for 3 months, but we beat the infection. And then, okay, in 23, I had 4 surgeries over a year at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. And they put the largest, most complex hip implant ever attempted to be put into a human being.
Wow.
I've got rods like this big that go all the way across my guts,
Right.
in all through, like my midsection and all through there. I got a rod outside of my tailbone that they've never even tried before, and all sorts of stuff. And you know what? I did all that because I just wanted to walk again.
Yeah.
I just, I mean, with crutches, 5.5 years, you can't carry your own. You can't carry your own plate. You buy a beer. You're like, hey, can you carry that for me? I mean, I hated it. And I got to where I was on a cane. I got to a cane, and the leg isn't quite long enough, so I still have a raised shoe. I still have that much of a raised shoe compared to that.
Yeah, right.
But hey, man, you know what? The other one, I mean, it was twice that big. I mean, it was a freak show, and like you have no idea, like the gratitude I have that I get to hobble around on a cane, and my back hurts, and my leg hurts, and my hip hurts. But you know what? I'm off the crutches. I got a hand free, man. I can carry my own beer. I can carry my own. I can carry my own backpack. I can carry my own stuff. And hey, you know what? I got one hand. I can make this work.
Yeah.
And I still find myself taking that for granted on occasion.
Yeah.
And I have to go, whoa, dude.
Right.
5.5 years you fought for this. And you went through all those surgeries and all those pain and I rode thousands of miles on the exercise bike and all those hours of PT and all this, just to try to walk again, man. And people walk around and they take it for granted. And I'm just like,
well, they do,
or just being able to sit on the toilet and go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Like that was the first thing when they asked me in OT. They're like, well, like what are your goals? When you first get out of the bed, I said, to go to the bathroom by myself and wipe my behind.
Yeah.
It's like, man, it just gets real, and it can get real quick.
It does.
Right?
It does.
So it kind of took a long time for me to get to that, but
look, I don't know what it is about us humans that. And I know this is different from culture to culture, so we can speak about, good old United States culture here of how busy people allow them to get, how wrapped up in stuff that is important, but it isn't,
Right.
And I have a friend and a colleague. She's a coach, and one of the things she does, it's like so cool, and she goes public with it every day. Before the end of every day, there will be a post on her Facebook page of what I felt gratitude about for today.
Wow.
Every day.
Man.
Does not miss it, right? That she just puts out. The sun was shining. I ran into a good person. Like that gratitude does not have to be an emotion we just experience when something really big happens. In fact, the gratitude that has the biggest impact on our brain chemistry is what some people would call the small things, right?
Right.
It got warm here in Rochester finally. The sun was shining. Yeah. I was listening to my 2-year-old grandson laughing today. And that, like how we hold on to that, and especially given, your kind of story, to still be able to hold on to that. So it's so important.
It is, isn't it? It's like, the kind of the powers that be, if you will, and the ones that kind of, guide the country and everything, they have just gotten us so busy
Yeah.
and just so occupied and made us think that it's just all about this and it's all about that. And you know what? I don't think most people actually really take 10 minutes a day and just sit there in the quiet and just
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think they do that anymore.
No, they
I don't
don't.
even know if they can. I don't know if
Yeah.
they can. I find myself not doing it. I find myself getting caught up in it, and in the rat race, and I'm like, dude, just check yourself, brother. Like, it's not that big of a deal, is it? Really, really and
Yeah.
truly, relationships,
That's it.
friendships, doing kind of things
Right.
to make somebody else have a better day.
That's it.
That's what
That's
matters.
it. That's it.
That's
Look, and
what,
I would say, to bring this around to a little bit of the work I do in the leadership world, one of the things, so when you look at like every couple of months, I'll go online and I'll look at, the top 5 reasons why people leave their jobs.
Yeah.
Inevitably, somewhere in that top 5 is some version of, I did not feel valued and appreciated.
right. Yeah.
And
Sure.
when I do leadership work with folks, it's one of the things that I talk a lot about with folks in leadership positions. And it is always fascinating to me when I hear from some folks, well, I'm not their therapist. I'm not their parent. I shouldn't have to do this. Well, it is a fundamental human need to feel valued and appreciated. So we could talk about it that way. It's a fundamental human need. Now, if you want to talk about it in terms of return on investment, in the workplace, if you have people on your team and they know that you value and appreciate them, and Trent, not value and appreciate them for their job, value
Right.
and appreciate them for their fundamental humanness,
Right.
they will go to the wall for you
That's
in
right.
their job.
That's right.
Right. And so the return of in a leadership role of just how do I make sure in whatever is going on in our busy day, and that the people on my team know beyond a shadow of a doubt, I value and appreciate them. Like, of all the kinds of things I talk about with leaders, like if folks in leadership just did that, people would be happier, people would be more satisfied, people would not leave jobs, and companies would be more productive. I believe that with every fiber of my being.
I couldn't agree more. Man, yeah, it's so true. And I think we've gotten lost the busyness of everything. We've gotten lost in kind of the old fashioned, just the basics, right? And man, I mean, it's something. It's something, isn't it? My coaching is really it's cancer coaching, but it's really very simple. I just I like people to know that that they cannot hand their life over to some expert, right?
Yes.
And that's what the people kind of in my generation and a bit older, they've been taught to do that, because if you don't, it's disrespectful.
Yeah. Right.
Like you're supposed to. You don't ask questions. You don't challenge. You don't do that, and you have to approach it, in a little bit of a different way.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of what I do. Is I just help people remember, like, hey, you're the quarterback of your life, and when you go to the doctor, they're just like, they're one of the coaches on the sidelines that are helping you see the field. They're kind of giving you the, hey, this is what the weather's going to be like. This is the scouting report on the other team. This is the toughest guy they got, and you take that, and you got to call the play.
Yeah,
you got to call the play, and give them the confidence to do that.
That's right.
And man, like, that's
awesome. Calling the play does not mean that you have to be disrespectful to the doctor, right?
No,
you can be wonderfully respectful. It's just, this is my life. Doc, here's what I think I need. I'm going to
Yeah.
advocate for myself. Right.
Yeah, you don't have to be rude about any of that.
Yeah.
And if you do it the right way, you actually will get a doctor / coach that's going to be even more supportive, because then they're kind of like, oh, I've got a patient that gets it.
Yeah, right.
And then you come in and you're prepared, and you have the answers to the questions that they want to ask you, that they want you to have the answer, and they want you, and they're like, man, I think that they're like, you know what? Thank God I don't have to do this all by myself. That, like, I want to help them and give them, I want to give them the scouting report, and then they go do it, right? They don't want that, that's what they want to do, right? And I think that, it's not like that, I'm not the kind of coach to go, this is like, dude, I'm going in to fight the doctor. No. We're all on the same team, and we're working together. And we want, what outcome do we want? Well, we want to, we want to beat the cancer. We want to, overcome this thing or what. And we all want to work together to do that. And we all need our bits and pieces, because you got to have the players, you got to have a coach, you got to have some people in the stands watching too, because if you don't,
you're supporting, right?
So for me, I kind of, when I work with guys a lot of times, and if they're sports guys, man, I kind of do the football thing with them.
Yeah, right.
And it just, man, it's awesome, right? And and if not, well, then there's got to be a game that you like, right, of some sort. And I kind of roll with it like that, and it's I don't think it's that hard. Right? And because they just need a little bit of like, oh yeah, okay, I got this, I can do this, and now you know what, you're gonna call some wrong plays, and you're gonna get sacked, and you're gonna throw an interception too. You are, because you're not. But guess what? You get 3 or 4 tries to get a first down, then you start over.
Yeah.
And so, that's kind of the way I do it.
Look, but I think the challenge is, as you're talking, like, I don't want to speak up to the doctor. And again, I see this in all corners of my work.
Yeah.
And it's so much of what drives the specific work I do around conversational intelligence is the lack of conversational skills that many of us have. So, or we hold on to conversational assumptions that are not true. So, assumption: if I advocate for myself, the doctor will get angry with me. If I ask questions, I'm being disrespectful. And so I don't want this authority figure angry, so I don't say anything because I don't like conflict.
Right.
And so I don't have the conversations that would be incredibly helpful for me to have, and that could happen in incredibly respectful, productive, authentic ways, even if there is, some disagreement, right? We might need to agree to disagree about something.
Sure.
People they just don't have them, because so many of us walk around with ideas and histories and experiences where conversations, especially with someone in any level of authority, our history with that has not been good, and so we just stay quiet.
Right. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because conversational intelligence. Now, I know you work with that. And it's trademarked, and you're certified in this. Tell us a little bit about that, please, Keith.
So, conversational intelligence, or CIQ, is a modality that was created by a brilliant woman by the name of Judith Glaser, who was a world-renowned executive coach. Sadly, 7 years ago, passed away from pancreatic cancer. But before she passed away, I had the privilege to train with her for about a year. What CIQ looks at is CIQ looks at the neurochemical underpinnings of how certain conversational strategies and patterns, when used in everyday conversation between two human beings, cause people's brains to either say, oh, I trust you, like you're interacting with me in a way that causes my brain to say safe, inclusive, trusting, or you use certain strategies that cause my brain to go right into fight, flight. I perceive you as threat. I don't trust you as far as I can throw you. There's a lot of cool things about the modality. I mean, it's got some, social sciencey components to it, but what I love about it is because it is based in neuroscience, and because we know so much about where we perceive trust and safety, where we think more clearly. I can, in my work with folks, I can actually help them deconstruct their conversational patterns. So if a person comes to me, I'm working with a leader and we're having a meeting and they say, Keith, I had this meeting with someone on my team the other day and the conversation went horribly and we walked away all angry with each other.
Okay. Yeah.
So the first thing I know is in the conversational world, if two people come together and have a conversation and the conversation doesn't go well and they both walk away angry, I know that if I walked up to either one of them as they were walking away angry and said, give me your best explanation as to why that conversation just went poorly, I know what everyone would tell me. They would tell me the other person's a so-and-so. The world's worst explanation.
Right. Okay.
Right? What I can do if I'm talking with somebody is say, okay, let's play back that conversation.
Yeah.
And we can identify very specifically words, phrases, nonverbal behavior that we know when it lands in people's brains, it causes them to say, I don't trust you. So there's a big piece of this that is incredibly helpful in leadership, in any conversation, in coaching, of understanding a bit of the origin of fight flight, right? That fight flight is it's I would argue it's the mechanism that is solely responsible for the fact that human beings still walk the face of the earth, because it is so finely tuned. Our brain, it picks up threat before we're even aware that it's picking up threat. But when it picks up threat, so you and I come and have a conversation. So we can even go back to the start of our conversation tonight. The minute you and I, even here in the online world, the minute you and I, our cams went on and we laid eyes on each other, the second, 0.07 seconds is how quickly our brains are starting to determine, can I trust you or not?
Wow.
Happens incredibly quickly.
Yeah.
And so what we know is if I interact with you in a way that causes you to perceive me as threat, this is simplistic. This isn't the best explanation. I always talk with people about the back of the brain and the front of the brain. Back of the brain, emotion, fight, flight. Front of the brain, rational thinking, problem solving, things like that. Okay. As soon as I perceive threat, I'm back here. I'm in my feeling brain. Okay. The research would say that when you're in your feeling brain, it is incredibly difficult to be in contact with your thinking brain. So you do crappy thinking because you're doing really strong feeling. Okay. So as soon as I interact with you, and maybe you interact with me in a way that causes me to feel not valued, not appreciated, put upon, disrespected, I'm back here and we might as well end the conversation right then. And so what CIQ allows me to do with individuals, with groups, with teams, is to look at all of these very specific ways we interact. Okay. Now, the family therapy background in me also allows me to bring in a little bit of our own histories in conversation with maybe early authority figures, because that's all in there.
Right.
But what we can do with this modality now in training and in coaching is help people figure out, if I want to interact with people in a way that is productive and authentic, and I want to be perceived as trusting and safe, and I want to connect, here's how we can do it. And when you do it this other way, people are just going to perceive you as threat, and those relationships are going to go nowhere. And all we need to do, Trent, is look around our society today. We don't even have to talk about the leadership world or work or coaching. Yeah. Look at the horrible examples of how people are in conversation with each other, especially when they disagree with each other about things.
Right.
CIQ does not mean we never disagree. Okay. In fact, CIQ can help people disagree very strongly, have very different worldviews, and engage in conversation where we learn from each other, we respect each other, and we can still maybe walk away at the end and say, boy, we'll agree to disagree. Yeah. But the venom and the attack that we see in society today, most Judith Glazer used to always quote this piece of research from UCLA that said 9 out of 10 conversations miss the mark. 9 out of 10 conversations that we're in do not produce for us or the other people what we want. Now, if you think about that in the workplace, what a waste of time that is. Yeah. Most conversations in the workplace are a waste of time because people are defended. They don't trust each other. That's the work I do. It's wonderful. It's so much fun.
So, you know, like, do you pick out like words or phrases that people say, and you're kind of like, you said it this way, but if you say it this way, then
yes,
okay, cool.
Yes,
really cool.
Yeah. So here's a couple of really great examples of conversational strategies that never work. Will always create distrust.
Yeah, cool.
So in the CIQ world, we talk about people's addiction to being right. I'm right, you're wrong, right? I have never seen somebody use that strategy where the person they accuse of being wrong said, oh my God, you're right, I'm sorry. Right? Right? I'm right, you're wrong. If you're in a group meeting and there's even one person at the table doing that, I'm right, it closes down the thinking of the entire room. Nobody will speak up, nobody will take a chance, and if they do, it'll just be conflictual. So that's one thing. There's another concept in CIQ called assuming shared meaning. So you're how old, Trent?
50.
You're 50. All right. So you're 50, I'm 67. As you and I have been having this conversation tonight, every single word that comes out of our mouths, for me, let's say, every word I use is wrapped somewhat in meaning based on my 67 years of life, seeing the world through my eyes and my eyes only. Same for you. Words carry meaning, right?
Yep.
But when sometimes we use, so let's use the word respect, right? If you and I were talking about how we respect each other. Now, if we were both using the word, well, respect would be important in our relationship, we would probably both shake our head, yes, of course, that makes sense. Here's the problem. Your idea and meaning of what respect looks like, sounds like, and feels like in your interaction with someone could be different than mine.
Right.
So the mistake we make is assuming shared meaning.
Okay.
I speak, the words come out of my mouth wrapped in meaning, they cross the room, and I assume when they land in your ears, you'll assign the same meaning. Now, you might with some, but some of this is going to be different. So when you think about like teams, where there's 10 people in conversation, all the different meaning, especially fuzzy words, respect, appreciation, value, things like that are fuzzy to begin with.
Sure.
But we could even, conflict. Well, what do we do if we deal with conflict? Well, before we can even talk about how to deal with conflict, let's both define it. What's conflict for you? What's conflict for me? What's your history dealing with it? What's mine? So I created this concept in this work called having a conversation about the conversation. that if you and I work closely, you and I, we're on the same team. Mm-hmm. One of the things we could do would be, before we have any conversation, let's have a conversation about how we both show up to conversations. What works for us? What doesn't work for us? If we start working together and we start having difficulty with each other, even more importantly, to find some time to have a conversation about the conversation. Trent, what do you and I need to do to get to a better place? When you talk to me this way, I felt a little bit put upon, and you might say, well, Keith, you have kind of a loud voice and I can feel it, like sometimes my body goes like this. We're identifying, again, in CIQ, we talk about making the invisible visible. Yeah. There are these invisible aspects that govern whether our conversations with each other and our relationships with each other are going to work or not, that we never talk about. And so if it goes well, cool. If it doesn't go well, then we go back to, I just think you're a so-and-so and you think I'm a so-and-so, and we walk away.
And then you don't even know why.
And you don't even know why, and you never reconnect.
Right. Oh, it's very interesting.
And so we can get around all of that.
Yeah.
By just being a bit more strategic and intentional about identifying these very nuanced aspects of how us human beings do conversation with each other.
Wow. Have you heard of DISC, like the
Yeah,
DISC
the DISC
personality
profile.
behavioral thing?
Yeah.
It sounds a little bit like that because like the DISC, a D kind of they have these characteristics and they think this way and they deliver information this way and they want to receive it, and the I and the S and the and if you know those, then and you kind of know, oh, that person is they're a DI, then you kind of can communicate with them on the level that they'll
you
understand.
can. So here's what I would add to that. So I use those tools in my work, those personality profiles. The only thing I add to it is, and I'm not incredibly knowledgeable about DISC, but I know the letters. If you and I were having a conversation and we were comparing each other's DISC, and you said, I'm a this, this, and this, I would still make the argument we would still be even better if we said, okay, let's break those things down a little bit further. What exactly does that mean to you? What exactly does it mean to me? How's that going to show up in our conversations? Especially, how might it show up in a way that might cause conflict? What do we want to do in those moments? One of the biggest conversations I'm in with folks in helping them have conversation is how to experience conflict in a conversation and not experience that you're judging me or you don't like me. So I always talk about, like, you can be in conflict with someone and not have malicious intent.
Right.
But if we don't get that clear, we might have conflict and you might perceive, oh, Keith doesn't like me or Keith's after me.
Right.
That might have nothing to do with what's going on inside me. But until we check for meaning with each other, we don't know. And us human beings, especially around conflict and uncomfortable emotion, we're awesome at telling ourselves stories about ourselves and other people that don't serve us.
Right.
And so, so it's really cool work.
Wow.
It's tangible. Like, you make this intangible thing, these amazing aspects of how we interact with each other through conversation, and you make them tangible for people so that they can look at it and get curious. How might I approach these conversations differently?
Wow. I love it. I love it because, like when you're in those things and you have that conflict, and let's say you do, you'll never talk about it after that, right? It's kind of like uncomfortable. It's an uncomfortable thing to bring up or to talk about, and like, most society, most cultures, especially US, we don't do that because then it's like you cause a friction and it's disrespectful, or whatever, or you look weak or whatever it is, and then it's over, right? And
then here's the deal: it's not over. So here's the last thing I'll say about this.
It's cool. I love this. I love this, man. I love this.
It's such an important piece. So let's say you and I, we have a conversation and it doesn't go well and we walk away really angry with each other. And we don't circle back and try and work through it. And I don't know, we don't see each other for 6 months, right, after this conversation. We both tomorrow walk into a Starbucks. I walk in and you're there. I haven't seen you in 6 months. We lay eyes on each other. The minute we lay eyes on each other, we are in a dialogue in our head. Oh my God, there's Trent. I remember when he said this, and you're doing the same thing. But here's the really important point, Trent, and this has been proven in brain research. We don't remember, although we think we do, we don't remember actually what we said to each other.
Right.
We remember how we felt.
Good point.
Feeling is stickier in our brain than words. So in my head, I might think, I remember when Trent said this to me and he said this and this. I don't remember that at all. I remember being pissed. I remember being put upon. I remember being aggravated, right? I remember being angry. But if that could be 6 months ago, and we will revisit those feelings like they were yesterday.
Right.
If we don't address it, and so your point is right on point. Us human beings, when we have those interactions with people, we tend to not ever address it.
Right.
But then we carry it. We just carry it into, if we run into each other, or here's the other thing. You and I have one of those interactions that went really horribly. I don't ever see you again. But 6 months from now, I happen to interact with a person who reminds me of you. I will revisit all those feelings and I will project them onto you, even though it wasn't even in the conversation with you. You remind me of that guy, Trent. And so now I project all that onto you. And I have no experience that's true, but I don't, he reminds me, he looks just like Trent, talks like Trent. That Trent was such a self. We do these crazy things in our head.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes, let me ask you about this, because, sometimes maybe that happens, right? And you see that person and you know that you kind of had something, but it's like, you just don't care. You're like, hey man, how's it going? Whatever. Like, what happens in that? Did you like reconcile it within yourself, or you just kind of
like, you might be that? Yeah, you might be that kind of personality who can. You might be that kind of personality who can do that. It's like, okay, bygones be bygones. I'm good, right? It's over. That's awesome, right? That tends not to be
right.
How many are, but right, yes. Yeah, I mean, if that's a way of being that you have, that's a really cool skill to have.
I'm curious, just roughly, you would say, like, in that situation, the percentage of people that if they saw that person again, that they didn't really, maybe they remember that they kind of had a conflict, but they were like, they just didn't care, and they're like, hey man, what's up? It didn't bother them. How many percent? Like, is it 80% would still kind of have a grudge? Or you think it maybe
I think the majority. I think the majority, just because of how our brain works. I think the majority hold on to that in some way, shape, or form. It will come back, which is, I just had a conversation just earlier this week with a leader in an organization, and we were talking about this because this person had some experiences with some folks within their organization that didn't go that well. And their tendency was to want to, like, okay, well, it'll kind of, take care of itself.
Right.
And I was the voice in the room that just, I didn't tell them what to do, because I don't tell people what to do, but just got curious with them about, what's your experience that tells you that people, like, it'll just take care of itself? Or what would it be like for you to attempt to bring some clarity to this, to apologize or to own it, or what do we need to do to move our our relationship in a good direction? For men, Trent, and I think this is so relevant for men, all men in leadership, does not matter. Like, we know that one of the emotions that a lot of human beings, especially men, will do anything not to experience is vulnerability. I don't want to feel vulnerable. But here's what the brain research tells us. And I'll talk about this in the world of leadership. When a leader, especially a male, when a leader demonstrates vulnerability to their team, I don't know, I messed up. What do you think, right? That wasn't me at my best yesterday. I apologize. When a leader shows vulnerability, in real time, it actually increases the production of oxytocin in the brain of the people who witness that vulnerability. And oxytocin is that neurochemical that causes us to feel connected.
Right.
Vulnerability works. It's not weakness, which is how, my generation always thought about it. Right. It's not weakness. It is one of the most powerful leadership connecting, authentic strategies, for lack of a better term, somebody can engage in, as long as it's real and genuine, right? And not, manipulative in any way.
Yeah.
It works if people were willing to attempt to reconnect, had a few strategies, and So what I want to throw out to your audience, if they're interested in, I don't know if you will, post my contact information in the show notes.
Oh, absolutely. For sure. Everything.
Listen, to any in your audience, who watched this episode, I'm going to say to the first five who choose to contact me.
Okay.
If you reach out to me, send me an email, reference that you were a part of this conversation that you and I were in tonight. I would be happy to do like, a 30 to 45-minute session with you. And we can look at whether it's in your personal life, in your professional life, if you are in a leadership role or thinking about being in a leadership role, how to make use of some of these conversational intelligence concepts. Be more than happy. First 5 who reach out and say hello, we'll find a time to get together and spend a few minutes talking a little bit more about this.
Hey, do you mind? You know what? It skipped a little bit on the video. Can you just say I got minutes of how to make use of?
Okay, so whether it is in your personal life, family life, professional life,
okay,
if you're in a leadership role or thinking about leadership,
okay.
If you would like to get together and we can look at, over 30, 45 minutes, how to make use of some of these strategies.
Yeah.
First 5 who contact with me, make contact on me.
Yeah. Hey man, that's awesome. I'll put that in the show notes and everything. Tell us your website. Tell us how people can get in contact with you, email address, any of that stuff that you'd like to tell us about.
Sure. So the website is Keith Greer, Greer, KeithGreerCoaching.com. Very simple website, just gives you a little idea of some of the work I do. In the process of updating it now, and not sure when the update will be out, but it's up there. My email is keith@KeithGreerCoaching.com.
Okay.
You're welcome to reach out to me there, and there's a contact page on the website as well. So yeah, whether it's the CIQ stuff or again, in those 5 folks who reach out, if you want to do that strength exercise and you want to just chat about it, what you came up with, and reach out. I love talking about this stuff.
Cool. Just curious, like typically what kind of clients do you normally have? Just kind of like, what's your kind of target market that normally you work with? But I'm not trying to pigeonhole you into that.
Yeah. No. Good question.
Yeah.
So right now, my in terms of the leadership work I do, my clients fall into corporate world, not-for-profit world, family-owned business world. Love doing family-owned business work. It's this nice intersection of executive coaching and some of the family therapy background. So those are some of my clients, either individual or I have some company clients. I say in terms of general coaching, I do some general coaching. I don't know. There's an area of your life that's not exactly what you want it to be. And it could be work, it could be relationship, it could be whatever. Here's my thing. If I had to boil down who I work with, I would say I work with people who want to be worked with, who are motivated, who are ready to take an honest look at themselves, who are not only ready to identify strengths, really important as we talked about, but have the courage to really get curious about maybe some things that hold them back, whether they're behaviors or patterns or certain assumptions that they hold on to. I just, early in my career, probably not very uncommon in the coaching world, I was willing to work with anybody, and I've reached this point in my coaching work. I don't want to have to fight hard with folks. So if you're ready to do some work, like you want to move your life forward, you want to get to maybe a next level in your career or something like that, man, I tell people now, Trent, the biggest criteria I use when people reach out to me about us doing work is, am I going to have fun? I want to have fun working with you. And part of the fun for me, part of fun is to be across from somebody who's like, dude, let's get rolling here. I'm ready to do some work.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, guys, we've heard a lot from Keith. He's dropped some awesome nuggets today. And, I always like to say, if you feel like you want to talk to Keith for a few minutes about something, then can't read your mind. Okay. And I know that if you make the first step, that he will come meet you where you are. You have to make the first step, guys. That's what I always say, right? You just have to pull yourself together and make that one or two liner to hit him and say, hey, I'd love to talk to you. And then it's away, guys. But it's on you to make the first step, because we can't read your mind, right? That's what I always try to tell the guys and remind them.
That's it. Yeah.
If you like Keith, man, give him a shout, man. I think this guy's awesome. I love talking to you. So cool. What a great conversation today. And, before I'll give you the last word, if you've got anything else, and then I'll take us out. And if you don't mind, just stick around for a moment after, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Look, just,
okay.
Yeah. Last word. Be courageous. Be courageous in moving your life forward. Don't settle for less. Even if you hear the voices in your head saying settle or don't take a risk. The cool thing about, like, whether it's me or anybody else, or, working with Trent, the thing about reaching out to a coach is just do the first conversation. If you walk away from the first conversation, it's like, I don't know if this is for me, I'm not ready. Fine, right? But too many people sit in their homes at their desks thinking about reaching out to a coach or a therapist or any helping person, and they don't. Reach out, treat yourself well, and give yourself that opportunity to think big. Yeah.
That's it. And you know what? If it doesn't work out, it's okay, because
you
don't fit with everybody, man. But you got to find out, right? You got to pull the ticket.
Yeah.
Pull the next one, right?
Yeah.
So, hey, thanks for your time. It's been awesome.
Oh, what a pleasure and a privilege to be with you, Trent. Thank you for the invite.
All right. Hey, guys, as we go out, God bless you all. Godspeed this week. And never forget that grit don't quit. We are out.